going.
Wait, Miss
Okay, volume of a prism.
Struck Kim then? Because like I heard Kim sucks, and I feel like it'd be better if I just did.
Here we go. 11:4. We are talking volume. Tell me what you know about volume.
I know that
Wait, why is the bus here like an hour?
Because they came back from their route and just parked there instead of over there, so they don't have to move it in an hour.
I didn't do last home Thursday's homework.
Ow!
I did
bracelet.
I didn't do last Thursday's homework last.
My turn. Volume. What is volume? Truett, stop talking. What's volume?
No, it's like.
Whoa.
What is volume?
Whoa.
Mexican is like a sombrero.
Like how big something or like
Yeah, it's like.
how much volume it is. What do I think of
Like I'm
it?
not
Has
even
inside?
Inside. Yeah, it's what's inside. Okay. So volume is the space that a figure occupies. Volume is always, so we've talked area, right? Area is always square units, so inches squared, feet squared, yards squared, whatever. Volume is cubic, because now we're going length, width, and height, right? So there's 3 dimensions here. So cubic units for volume. We're going to skip this.
Cross out the picture.
Okay. Yeah, you don't need the picture or a Cavaliere's principle. We're just going to skip that for now. Volume of a prism is actually, you've probably done it before. Have you ever heard length times width times height?
Yes.
Okay,
I have.
so that's probably the volume formula you learned in like pre-algebra, maybe?
No, I learned last year, not for 1B.
Oh, yeah.
Did you do volume in 1B? You did?
I think so.
I don't remember any.
Huh.
It was probably like
I remember. Actually, I can't say because I don't want to be sent back to algebra 1B. Actually, I don't care. I just remember cheating on
there.
Oh, yeah, and they broke it.
Yeah. That was like a magnetic dart.
Okay, so here is what the things stand for. The height of the figure and the area of the base. That's not different. That's what B and H have stood for all along.
Sorry.
Are you? Volume of a prism is this formula, okay? You have probably learned L times W times H, which works sometimes, but it does not work for every prism. So we're not going to do LWH as the formula. The formula is going to be the area of the base times the height, okay? So B times H. And I'm going to show you on this figure right here what that looks like. Yeah.
Why don't we capitalize the H?
That's a good question.
Yeah, you know what? That's a decent question.
I don't know. The reason we capitalize the B is because a lowercase b usually stands for the length of a base, right? So like if I'm finding, this is a great question, Max. This is such a great question. Look at this figure.
Is it so you can tell them apart so you don't like think they're the same thing?
Right. Okay, so if you think of this figure, we're calling this our capital B, right? The base of our figure. That is a rectangle.
It has to be capitalized.
That's 12 by 5, right? Hey, shh.
I'm sorry.
So if this is 12 by 5, this is base, lowercase b. This is h, lowercase h. So the height of the rectangle and the base of the rectangle. But the capital B is the area of that rectangle, right? So that's why capital B versus lowercase b. I don't know why they went with lowercase for them. I don't think there's a great reason for that. But in this case, your capital B uses the lowercase b. So that's why you can't have both of them be capital. Does that make sense? Okay, so if this is our volume formula, and we're going to use the top and bottom as our base. Now, here's the deal. On a rectangular prism, you may use any sides as your base. You can use left and right as your bases. You can use front and back as your bases. You can use top and bottom as your bases, okay?
I did it in the bathroom.
I'm going to use top and bottom. So if this is our setup, okay, B stands for the area of the base. Your base is a rectangle right now. How do you find the area of a rectangle?
Base times height, base times height, base times height.
Base times height. So in this scenario, we're going to do 12 times 5. Okay?
What'd you say?
So 60
What'd you say?
is Excuse me. We're not saying anything. We're
called you
doing
back.
math. So B is going to be 60 square millimeters. Okay, that's the area of the base. You good?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Stop saying basic words.
What is the height?
That's pretty mean.
This height, right? Base times height. So
Wait, is
if
it square?
volume, what?
Is it square, like 60 millimeters square?
Yes, because it's an area, right? Area of the base. No.
No, I was trying to get him. I was giving him the notes.
He doesn't need them right now.
What? Okay.
Focus for me. So this is the area of the base. Then I need height, right? It's base times height. So it's going to be 60, B. H is the height of the figure. What's the height of this figure?
The height,
Yeah,
60 millimeters.
the 6. It's the distance between the bases, okay? So we're going 60 times 6, which means our volume is 360. And then how do you label volume? Millimeters,
Squared.
not squared. Volume is cubed, right? Cubic units, because it's length and width and height. It's 3 dimensions. Okay?
Why do you times it by 6? You times it. Oh, you.
'Cause that's-
Piss everybody off real quick.
That's
We'll do the same thing that we did last
the
time.
8.
Or like we did.
We're gonna do one more of these and then I'll put one on the board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so
Yeah,
number 2 here,
It's a new lesson.
this is also
We've already done
a prism,
Mine's been learned last time.
okay? So it's still gonna be volume equals the area of the base times the height. But now here's where you have to be careful. This is where a lot of people make the mistake.
I feel like this is kind of easy.
I hope so.
I don't know.
In this setup, okay, first of all, put a right angle here and a right angle right there, okay? If this is a prism, Truett, stop talking. If this is a prism, what shape, okay, rewind. Name this prism. What type of prism? Okay, it is a triangular prism.
Oh, I was right.
Okay, now hear me. Excuse me.
No, I'm stretching.
If this is a triangular prism, what shape are your bases?
Triangle.
Triangles, right? You name a prism by the shape of the base. But everyone wants to use this as the base. It is not the base,
Yeah, there's
okay?
the second one.
The bases, there have to be 2, and they have to be identical.
No, couldn't it be the two rectangles? 'Cause of the
No,
same-
because they have to be identical and parallel.
They are.
right?
On the opposite.
The rectangles? No, they intersect. All those rectangles intersect.
Bases always have to be
Oh,
on
they
the
touch each
side.
other?
They touch each other.
Oh.
They have to be parallel so that they would never touch, right? So like,
What if they don't touch, but they're not like directly over each other?
Yeah, like in a hexagon or something.
Yeah,
they don't touch, but they're not
but they're not like directly on top of each other, like a
Like-
hexagon.
Yeah.
Like what would be the base in that case?
Like
Yeah.
this?
Or
This is a hexagonal prism. So your bases are these two.
It couldn't
Right?
be the rectangles. Like I could use
It
that.
cannot be,
What
no,
if-
because it has to be, I see what you're saying. You're saying these are parallel and
Yeah.
congruent. Yeah, it's gotta be, oh,
Is
how
it
is
because
it?
what about a
It's
shape that doesn't have any
It
sides?
has to be that there are just exactly 2 of them,
Okay.
right? This has 6 identical rectangles, and some of them are parallel, but only to the one across from it, right? But there's all these other identical ones. You have to have exactly 2 congruent parallel. So it can sit this way, these are your bases. It can sit this way, those are still your bases. Don't just use the bottom as your base. It is not just the bottom. So like on this is where it's a little different. You could technically use these as your bases.
But you shouldn't.
I think it's still better to do those.
It's easier.
Because it ends up making your lateral area different too, which we're not doing today, but that's okay. What would you call this?
A triangular.
A triangular prism. So if you can name it, then you know what your bases are, because the name gives you your bases, right? This is a triangular prism, so your bases are
A
triangles,
hexagonal prism?
right? Hexagonal prism has hexagon bases. So in this one, name that figure. What is this? Triangular prism. So what are your bases? Triangles, okay? This is a base, and that's a base, okay? Your bases are the triangles. So if your bases are the triangles, and we want the area of the base, right? Because that's what the capital B stands for, and the height of the figure. So area of the base, height of the figure. Let's think about what that would be. Your base is a triangle. How do you find the area of a triangle?
Is it Pythagorean theorem?
It's not Pythagorean theorem. I mean, if you were missing a piece, you could use the Pythagorean theorem, right? This is a Pythagorean triple, so you're not wrong. It is there. But the area of a triangle is 1/2 BH, right? Area of a triangle, 1/2 base times height. So the area of this triangle, Forrest, will you just come sit right here? Yes.
I wasn't talking to him.
But you're talking. You're just talking. You're distracting. Come sit here. So this triangle, you need a base and a height of this maroon triangle. What are your base and your height?
4 and 3.
4 and 3. Base and height, right? So 1/2 times 4 times 3. So the area of your triangle, which is going to be our capital B, the area of our base, is 2 times 3, so 6. Okay, that's what's going to go here. So our volume equals 6 times what? H represents the height of the figure.
Is it 3 or 11?
It's 11. It's the distance between your bases, right? The height of the figure is the distance between the triangles. So this right here is your H, okay? The distance between your bases is 11. So your volume is 66. And how do you label it? Centimeters cubed, okay? All right, so 11.4b, that's A, right? 11.4b is the same thing, okay? The difference is you're working with a cylinder now, and a cylinder has what that a prism doesn't? What does a cylinder have that prisms don't?
A circle?
Circles, okay? So here's the difference. The volume formula is the same, but instead of B, we're going to use pi r squared in its place, okay? So your formula is going to be pi r squared times h. Question: will you ever use pi in one of these pictures?
No.
Never.
No.
Okay? Biggest mistake that people make on these is people try to put pi, people try to put pi into problems where pi does not belong. You will only ever use the number pi if there is a circle involved, okay? Never in any other scenario should you use pi. So you're going to see both today in the homework, sometimes where there's circles and sometimes where there's not. Don't use pi if there's no circle, okay? Okay, so here's the deal. If your volume formula is pi r squared h, then you're saying pi times the radius squared times the height. So you only need those two things to find the volume of a cylinder. So look at this first one. If volume is pi r squared h, and I will give you that formula, okay? Volume is pi r squared h, then we would say the volume equals pi, what is r? 2 squared
times 6
times the height, which is the 6, okay? That's all you have to do. Now it's just a matter of simplify it. So 2 squared is what?
4.
Times 6? 24. So your answer is 24. Then you attach your pi. Never plug the pi into your calculator, okay? Just attach it at the end. So 24 pi feet what?
Squared.
Oh.
Did you make that noise?
Volume.
There's
Cubed. Whenever it's volume, you cube it.
You know what that
This is easy.
Okay, but now this one's different. Listen to this one. Yes. Cubed, because it's volume. Because you went feet by feet by feet. Because it's you never square volume. You always cube. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Example 2. This one is different. Pay attention. Pi r squared h. What is r?
14. Well, 10.
7.
Okay.
7.
Stop it.
7.
So that's what you have to pay attention to on these is did they give you a diameter or did they give you a radius? Okay, they gave you a diameter. You have to turn it into a radius. So this is pi times 7 squared times what?
Hit you with it?
Times the height, which is 10.
I feel like it's a
Okay.
sword umbrella.
So now simplify that. Stop it. Pi times 7 squared times 10 simplifies to what?
You never actually
490.
Yeah.
Don't plug it in.
490.
49 times 10.
Centimeters cubed.
Right. 490 pi centimeters cubed. So you may plug the rest of this into your calculator, but do not plug in the pi. Okay? Okay. This is the hardest one. Don't get distracted by history.
Wait, can
Do this along with me. Okay, look at this figure. If we are looking for volume, we're looking for how much space fits in this. Okay?
Is something like this gonna be on the test?
You have, potentially, we'll see how it goes. You have a prism, right? A rectangular prism, that's the bottom part. But you also have, so this is B times H. You also have what? What's the other figure? The top part.
a semicircle?
It's not quite a cylinder.
It's a radius.
It's half of a cylinder, right? So it's the volume of half of a cylinder. And the volume formula for a cylinder is pi r squared times h. But we need to cut that in half because it's only half of a cylinder. Okay, now, this gets a little bit tricky. It's fine, but it just kind of depends what you're looking at. So I'm gonna just draw in some more dotted lines to show our prism a little better.
Wait, so would we multiply 7, 13, and 8 to find that, and then we would
The prism.
do the
Okay, so if we're looking for the prism right now, I'm gonna use the bottom as my base, right? So the area of that base is 7 times 13, right? That's B. H is the distance between that 7 by 13 and 7 by 13. So that's the 8. So you just multiply the 3 dimensions in a prism, okay? In a rectangular prism. 7 times 13 times 8 is 728.
Dang.
And that would be millimeters cubed. Okay, so that's the volume of the prism. But now we need the half cylinder. So we're gonna go 1/2. Here's where it gets a little, except you do. It just doesn't feel like you do. Okay, so take a look at this. If this is
Oh wait, no we do, I'm dumb.
half of a circle,
I'm stupid.
what is the diameter of that circle?
Millimeters.
Well, the diameter would be 7, right? Diameter would be 7. We want a radius,
3.5.
so you cut that 7 in half and you get 3.5. So your radius is 3.5. So you go 1/2 times pi times 3.5 squared. Okay, and now here's the other tricky part. What is h right now?
13.
It's the 13. It's the height of the
What?
figure. So if you think about a cylinder, right? The height of the cylinder.
You're just moving that one up, right? You're just moving everything like up. Kind of.
Right, because they're parallel. So your height of your cylinder is here. We're looking at it like this, half of a cylinder. So the distance between your circles is your height. which is, in this picture, the distance between your circles is right here. Well, this is a rectangle, and in a rectangle, opposite sides are congruent. So that means this is 13, right? So that's your H of your cylinder, your height of your cylinder. That goes there. Okay, now here's the other tricky part. Mental math on this is not a great idea because 3.5 squared, if you can do that in your head, good for you. I can't. Plug this into your calculator. Plug in 1/2 times 3.5 squared times 13, and you get this number, 79.625, and then you can attach your pi. So the volume of half a cylinder here is that many
What's that word you just wrote in cursive?
cylinder,
Wait.
CYL.
So
I
we
just
would have to
abbreviated.
add 728 and 79.625.
Well, so we're not quite done yet. So you have your two separate volumes, right?
Add them together.
Your final step is add them together. But here's the thing.
Multiply.
You have two options, okay? If you're going to leave it in terms of pi, then your answer, the volume of...
Adam?
11.5.
What?
Do you
look,
add
there's
them?
an 11.5
Where is there an 11.5?
underneath.
Underneath what? Where? I don't know where you're looking right now.
11.5.
Oh, we're stopping at 11.4. So 728 plus, do you want to keep going?
No!
No.
No. Then you would have lied
Okay,
to us.
so here's the deal. This is your volume, if we give an exact answer. If you really want to plug it into your calculator, then at this point you have to plug in the pi, because this one has a pi and this one doesn't. You cannot just add them and attach the pi at the end. So if you want to plug it in, you'd go 728 plus 79.625 pi, and you would get 978.1
You have to add the pi in.
cubic. If you're going to give me a rounded answer, like if you want to add them together, then yes. If you want to just give me the information with a plus in between, then this is a perfectly good answer.
Oh.
So you can give it either way. You can give it exact, where you leave pi in it, but then you cannot combine the 728 and the 79. You can't add those together because this one has a pi.
So you could
And the
leave
other
it-
one-
You could leave it as the parentheses.
You can leave it as the parentheses. So either, not this, but either of the other two boxed. This is a good answer. This is an exact answer. This is a rounded answer. I don't care which one you give me.
Wait, I was confused for the 978. Did you use pi for that?
I plugged the pi in.
Okay.
So you can do it either way. The only time that matters is when there's two different figures and one has a circle and one doesn't. So in a situation like that, it's unique. Good?
Yep.
Yes.
It's your
Wait.
last
It is.
geometry lesson ever.